I went too far, I made a mistake, and I was wrong.
In an apology video posted on Twitter, Kathy Griffin is begging for forgiveness after images of her holding the severed head of President Trump surfaced on social media on Tuesday.
The image is too disturbing. I understand how it offends people. It wasn't funny. I get it.
It all started when celebrity photographer Tyler Shield released this video from their photo shoot of Griffin blankly staring up at the camera and slowly lifting up what resembles the head of Donald Trump for all to see. During the photo shoot, the comedian was unapologetic.
Tyler and I are not afraid to do images that make noise.
Griffin seemed to know she was stirring the pot. Here she is after the shoot.
We have to move to Mexico today because we're going to get federal prison.
The president responded to the controversy this morning in a tweet saying Kathy Griffin should be ashamed of herself. My children, especially my 11-year-old son Barron, are having a hard time with this. Sick. Bipartisan backlash over the photos was fierce and swift yesterday. Chelsea Clinton tweeted, "This is vile and wrong. It is never funny to joke about killing a president." CNN anchor Anderson Cooper, who has worked with Griffin multiple times, wrote, "For the record, I am appalled by the photo shoot Kathy Griffin took part in. It is clearly disgusting and completely inappropriate." The Secret Service says it's investigating, tweeting in part, "Threats made against Secret Service protectees receive the highest priority."
In a statement, Mrs. Trump said, and I'm quoting here, "As a mother, a wife, and a human being, that photo is very disturbing when you consider some of the atrocities happening in the world today. A photo opportunity like this is simply wrong. It makes you wonder about the mental health of the person who did it." The photo has sparked outrage since its release, and now CNN has officially decided not to have Griffin back to co-host this year's New Year's Eve show with Anderson Cooper.
All right, Kathy, you now sincerely apologize. I don't believe you, and I'll tell you why. The first thing that came out of your mouth when you did your apology was, "I sincerely apologize. I'm just now seeing the reactions of these images." Not because you did it, but because, quote, "the reactions of these images." That tells me that you're more concerned about you, your career, and your image than you are about what you actually put out into the public sphere. What you've done is try to normalize beheadings, and to suggest that a beheaded head should be that of the commander-in-chief is sick. You liberals have gone so far left, so far out of bounds, so far beyond what anybody finds funny or acceptable. Even Don Rickles wouldn't do something like that. You're pathetic, and you are causing harm, not just to this nation, but to the first family and an 11-year-old boy. Shame on you.
Just when you think that the leftist crowd can't get any more violent, vitriolic, and filled with nonsense, Kathy Griffin has to go and do this. Like anyone else with common morals and decency, when I saw this viral picture, I thought to myself, are you kidding me? This is the same crowd that said you can't even wear an Obama Halloween mask or you're racist, and now she's holding the fake, bloodied head of the sitting president of the United States? I am beyond sick and tired of the nonsense in which Hollywood thinks it gets a pass when it can do crazy stuff like this. Hey Kathy, I'm sorry that your comedic relief career is washed up. It looks to me like perhaps you ought to go to work for ISIS. And yet she can hold the severed head of the president, and liberals say, oh, it's just a comedy routine. She's just an actor. Don't be so snowflakey. It's not anything to get all up in arms about. People are sick of your stupidity and your idiotic violence. So in closing, Kathy, you actually remind me of a woman in the Bible. A queen, in fact. Her name was Jezebel. She died a horrendously painful death, but here's why you remind me of her. Because she too was an authoritative, man-hating, perverted whore that was just in it for the laughs.
I just wanted to live. I just want to love my family. I just want to love my wife.
Willie Corey Godbolt's alleged rampage ended here, handcuffed and bandaged on a country road outside a Superjack truck stop near his home in Bogue Chitto, Mississippi. He calmly described a shooting spree that left 8 dead, according to police.
My intentions was to have y'all to kill me. I ran out of bullets. Suicide by cop was my intention.
Police were called to remove Godbolt from private property when an altercation developed Saturday night.
I was having a conversation with her stepdaddy and her mama and her, my wife, about me taking my children home.
Godbolt allegedly shot and killed a sheriff's deputy and 3 women at the first home about 70 miles south of Jackson, the state capital. The deputy was identified as 36-year-old William Durr.
People that didn't even live at the house, but that's what they do. They intervene. They caused him his life. I'm sorry.
4 more people, including 2 juveniles, were shot and killed at 2 homes nearby before Godbolt was arrested at 7 a.m. on Sunday. He spoke to a Clarion Ledger reporter on the scene.
So what's next for you?
Deal.
So I understand how difficult this is, and
when voting to raise tuition earlier this year, some regents at the University of California said they were sad, but it was necessary.
Yes, I will be regrettably supporting the tuition increase, and I think that every single one of us in this room doesn't want to raise tuition for our students. It's very painful for all of us.
But the night before voting to hike tuition, the UC Regents spent $18,000 at a party at the Intercontinental Hotel. Only 65 people attended, which works out to about $300 per person. A few months later, the state auditor released a report showing serious financial mismanagement at the Office of the President, run by President Janet Napolitano.
A tough new anti-sanctuary cities law in Texas led to a massive protest in the state capitol building. And that protest led to a scuffle on the Texas House floor between Democrats and Republicans. The law known as SB 4 threatens to put in jail or remove law enforcement leaders from office if they provide some protections to illegal immigrants.
I just know they were saying stuff to me. I was saying stuff to them, both of them designed to incite each other. We were both all sides were emotional.
Protesters in Texas are promising legal action against the law. The Texas law resembles a 2010 Arizona law that allows police to ask about a person's immigration status, even during routine duties like traffic stops. The Associated Press reports that a small number of foreign-born Texans have already begun evacuating the state.
French President Emmanuel Macron met with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, in Versailles Monday. It was the pair's first meeting since Macron took office earlier this month. The French president said they had, quote, extremely frank, direct talks about cooperation in Syria and fighting the Islamic State. But in prepared remarks, Mr. Macron also accused Russian media outlets of spreading propaganda during the French election. He said, when press outlets spread defamatory untruths, they are no longer journalists. They are organs of influence. Russia Today and Sputnik were organs of influence during this campaign, which on several occasions produced untruths about me and my campaign.
Studies show a huge percentage of women didn't really want to get the abortions they had. Brian Fisher of the Pro-Life Human Coalition.
Somewhere around 40% of all abortion-determined women are in fact pressured by someone else for that decision.
The Human Coalition is using the internet to get to such women.
Our work is primarily based on reaching 1.2 million what we call abortion-determined women in the United States every year. And they're basically an unreached people group by anybody except for the abortion industry. So they're the most vulnerable population, I think, in our country.
But they're almost always turning to their computer if they're looking to end their pregnancy.
The internet is our primary ministry field. There are 1.85 million internet searches a month in the United States for abortion procurement terms.
HumanCoalition.org and their social media site, Facebook.com/HumanCoalition, are basically competing with the abortion industry to capture the attention of those looking up those abortion terms.
Our job is to try to identify those people and then give them the option to speak to us instead of an abortion clinic.
The numbers show the approach is working in thousands of cases.
Every year we're rescuing more and more children. Last year alone, we rescued 1,697 children just last year.
And Fisher says anyone can use what Human Coalition has found best works to turn women away from abortion. Because most are extremely stressed and just need to hear from someone assurances in a peaceful, non-judgmental atmosphere that having this baby won't mess up their lives.
Oftentimes, if a woman just moves slightly away from being anxious to being sober-minded in a secure environment, that is actually enough for her to stop and say, wait a minute, Do I really want to take the life of my child?
You could have already Googled the information for a local pro-life pregnancy center she can visit, or you can take her to.
A pro-abortion advocate is oftentimes very different from the woman who is abortion determined. We think that every woman who aborts a child is a raving left-wing abortion fanatic. That's not true.
See this thumbprint in Human Coalition's logo? It's evidence of an abortion-determined woman who listened to the group and instead gave birth to Addison, and that's Addison's mark.
The Human Coalition thumbprint is from an actual baby rescued from abortion who now is a kindergartner or first grader.